I've been in this district for 24 years. I originally came from Wiggum, Georgia, which is a small town in South Georgia, and I came here in the Air Force in 1998 when I finished basic training and all that, and then I've been in this community for a long time and worked several jobs throughout Destin and Fort Walton and Pensacola and here in Baker. So been married, divorced. I got a bunch of kids, raised a bunch of kids. I got a bunch of them still in Baker School. So, and been a business owner here in Baker for since 2019.
So, what is the position? What is the position of county commissioner in your mind? What does it do?
Well, in my mind, not that there's a defined definition for county commissioner apparently in Okaloosa County, but for what it's, there's no written guideline for it. But for me, I think that being a county commissioner in any county is to be a voice for the people and to be mindful of all of the statutes and the laws that are in place with the state and with the county. But at the end of the day is to be a good steward and a good listener for the people and the constituents and the taxpayers of Okaloosa County, to make sure that their voice is heard and that their concerns are addressed and that it's explained to them in a way that, they understand.
Why not one of these other three people?
Well, you mean the other candidates that are running? Well, each one of us are diverse in their own way. And, each one I think has, I'm not going to say that they have special interest at all, but of the other candidates, I feel that I'm more qualified in the sense that I have business sense. I have military background. I have children still in the school system, which all that goes hand in hand with school and politics and in the direction of our county. But I think that the diversity in what I've done in the last 24 years and lived in the district that I'm trying to represent gives me a better qualification over the other three candidates.
What's the most important issue that you would tackle if you were county commissioner?
I think that right out the gate is transparency. We all know that politics is the government is somewhat a slow process. So I think it's not hidden that, or it's not a secret to what all the major issues are in the county. But right out the gate, I think that transparency and being more upfront, forthcoming, trying to get the word out about agendas, getting the word out about what's happening, how money's being spent. I think that if we can do that, we could get more community involvement. And I think that that's a good thing. The more people that we have in the community that are involved, I think the better our county will thrive. And, when people are happy within the county and they feel that they have a voice and that they can make a decision that, or should I say that when they voice their opinion to a county official and they feel like they're being heard and they feel like, that they're going to do something about that, that's major to me. People need to be heard. And I don't think they feel that they have a platform to do that.
Do you have any specific action that you would take as a county commissioner to make sure that people are heard? Do you have any specific plans in mind?
Specific plans for me, like right now on the campaign trail. If we're out there, you think about this. I know the three of us for sure. We were at the Baker Rodeo this past weekend. We were campaigning for ourselves and for petitions and things like that. I've been to Fort Walton, beaten the path, Destin. I've been all these places and talked to all these people. But as well as I do, you see it. All this engagement is happening to get elected, but it stops once you get elected. So I would absolutely want to see more town halls for politicians. I think that there should be personally, I think there should be a scheduled amount. It should be written within the county, ordinances and the laws or rules or ever how it's laid out, that if you're elected as a county commissioner in this county, that you should have to have X amount per quarter, year, or something to engage with the people. to me, I think that should be a priority, and that should be part of the process.
What's more important to you, having and keeping the property tax rate low or fully funding government services? If you had to pick one, which one would it be?
So to keep it low,
Yeah.
so
Keep it as low as possible. I mean, I'm talking like what of these two options, right? Because there's only so much money.
that's right.
And so you can either raise taxes to keep services where they are,
That's
or
right.
keep them even higher.
Yeah.
What kind of mix do you want to see?
Well-
High taxes, low taxes, high services, low services.
Well, I'd like to see taxes stay low where they are. And I believe that honestly, I believe through better spending. You know, that's where it goes back to my well-roundedness of being in all different aspects of life and through things that I've done, is that, you know, if we don't waste money, we can save money. We don't have to raise taxes if we don't waste money. You know, don't throw away things. Try to reuse things. We don't have to have the newest and the greatest of everything. We can make do with a lot, that we already have without just constantly having to have the newest and the greatest thing.
What examples of cuts would you want to see?
Well, for me, obviously, I'm on the, I have my major thing that I do right now is heavy equipment and tractors and things like that. Technology right now in equipment and things like that is very costly. I understand that, that we may have guardrails and things like that they may be dirties, but we end up, let's don't use those. Let's go buy new. It's just in our equipment for sure. We need to be sure that we're careful with how we spend the money. Let's try to get the most out of a piece of equipment. And that goes throughout the county and whole, whether it's vehicles, whether it's, certain pieces of property or whatever. We need to try to get the max out of it and get a good life out of it. And I think that when it comes to the county and to employees, I think that if we're overstaffed with people that are not pulling their weight, I think it would be, better to get rid of those type of people and reward those that are willing to make an effort and put in a good hard day's work for the county.
Have you seen any examples of specific departments or individuals that are not pulling weight?
Well, I guess I could, if I went and looked at every department, I'm sure we could find a fault, or we could find something wrong in all of them. I'm not going to sit here and pick out any one particular department, but I'm sure, just like, when I grade an employee that works for me on a review, there's always room for improvement. Not to say that the supervisors for all the departments within the county are not doing a good job, but I think we can always do better. And sometimes it takes somebody from the outside looking in that has a different perspective or has knowledge of certain things to help remedy some of the losses.
Are you in favor of the half-penny sales tax? Why or why not?
You talking about the one that we're currently?
Yes, sir, the one we're under right now.
I voted no for that, along with a good majority of the people in the north end of the county for sure. I was not in favor of it when we done it. I felt that we could have, I think we could have went a different route with that. I understand where some of the money went. I think some went to the sheriff's department and some other things of that sort. That's a whole nother department. That's a whole nother ball of wax that needs to be looked at. But I was not in favor of it. I voted no against it. And granted, I'm not going to say that the funds didn't go to things that were needed and that it was used properly to a certain extent. But at the same time, I'm not big on raising taxes.
In the South End, we have a lot of stormwater issues.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have $70 to $80 million of a shortfall to actually fix those things. How would you go about ensuring that stormwater gets fixed?
Well, I guess the first thing with stormwater is, I guess the problem is that we got to figure out why do we have a stormwater problem, first of all. So we don't need to be creating more of a stormwater problem. And just what I just saw in this last county commissioner meeting that come down from the state, that there's some things that the state is mandating that you can start construction without infrastructure, which could be retention ponds and things of that sort. So You're saying that there's a shortfall in the South End and trying to fix stormwater issues, but yet we've got the state coming at us and making directives and things that is going to increase stormwater and runoff problems. So we definitely need somebody that is knowledgeable to try to figure out how to do that. And hopefully we have somebody with the county that is educated enough to figure out those water flow problems. So if there is a shortfall, we obviously do need to figure out the funding for that. But we need to be looking at all the different aspects and corners of that. But I mean, you're talking about a complex problem because you already have pre-existing development and buildings and houses and all of that in place. And we're trying to fix stormwater. So again, that's going to take somebody that has the expertise and that can look at that and that can advise that. Me personally, I don't know the exact ins and outs of your stormwater problem on the south end of the county, but I can assure you with enough of time and for me to look at it, I'm sure that there's a common sense approach to it.
It's huge. How can the power of the Okaloosa County Commission be used best to diversify and harden the county's economy for issues out of our control? So, for example, let's say Eglin gets BRAC, right? Base realignment.
That's right.
Or we get a hurricane.
Yeah.
Those are our two biggest industries. How can we diversify our economy to be more resilient against things like that?
So you mean basically, how can we fight against basically losing the military and missions and things like that?
That or either diversifying into other things, other like manufacturing or construction.
I would definitely say that this county needs to be diversified in other ways other than tourism and the military, because we don't control, for the most part, what happens with the military here locally. Now, granted, we got representatives and we've got senators and we've got congressmen that obviously want to try to fight to keep those type of things in our district or in this county for sure. But I think that's a big problem right now. And even with tourism, if a good hurricane comes through here and it wipes out the coastal area, you can forget tourism. That's not going to be a thriving thing. The jobs is going to be lost for all those people that work down in the south end. So this county, absolutely, it needs to thrive on more, factory type, business type things to employ the people here. So when you talk about diversity, the county has to, as a whole, we've got to be able to give these companies the right type of incentives and the right type of tax breaks, whether it be impact fees or whatever it is, to come into this county to generate those jobs. And I'm not saying let's bring something in here to, we want more jobs for sure, but we want to employ the people that are locally within our county. We don't want to bring something in here that is going to bring more people into this county. So I think diversity for us is we definitely need to be looking at other options, whether it be manufacturing, things of that sort, whether it's a car plant. I mean, that's an example. I don't know. But something that has a good paying wage that can hire a large number of people. I think that it's not just Okaloosa County, but the whole South in general, or throughout this country. If you remember back when Ross Perot was running for president, I voted for Ross Perot. That was the first time I got to vote. And if you remember the NAFTA thing, and he said, you're going to hear a big sucking sound if you pass that. We lost all of our small, whether it was sewing plants and factories and all those little things like that give the small community strength. We lost all of that. Now, granted, Okaloosa County might not have had that, but, like Bruton and Alabama and next to us and places like that, they had those type of things. So industry and factories and things like that will definitely bring diversity and diversify our thing, because we cannot solely depend on the military and tourism.
How do we solve this affordable housing problem we have here?
Affordable housing? That's a tricky one, because that's not just a county problem. That's a state problem. That's a national problem. But it wasn't too long ago, within the last 3 to 4 years, I can tell you of local places right here in the Baker community that just recently rent was at $500, $600, $800 a month. We're talking 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. So that was reasonable. That's reasonable pay, or rent. But I think, honestly, for us right now, what's driving our problem with our housing market is the military. BAH, $2,500 a month for an airman. Well, that's a problem, because what you got now is you got the mom and pops people that's, over the years has had a couple of rental homes, right? They had them, and they're giving a service to our community for our young people. If you're 20 years old and you decide you want to move out and you want to work at the local convenience store or retail store, at a reasonable minimum wage job, you could take your salary and still be able to have a car payment possibly and go pay rent. But I can tell you right now, a county employee, I got a kid that works for the county that makes $15 and something an hour, and the average rent is $2,500. He can't even think about affording to live in this county. It's crazy. He's looking to move out of the county into Alabama. So this may not be popular, but it's real simple. If we've got 25,000 more people, which is a number I've heard, coming in from the military, and I'm a veteran, I'm previous military, and I understand. I had BAH. I lived in Santa Rosa County for a brief moment in Navarre. But we're at a point right now that we've got a crisis, and instead of the military tearing down base housing and not rebuilding it, they need to be putting people that are military on base. As a military airman and as the military, they can decide where you live. I think BAH is a privilege. It's not a necessity. So we have a large military range here. We have a large base, platform. So why not put more people on base? They're talking about Highway 98 down there, that there's a traffic problem. Well, I think there's been a traffic problem on Highway 98 for a long time. I think you could agree. And now all of a sudden it's national security. It's national security. So let's build us a road that's for military only. What happened to, so just if you take that into example, it wasn't a big problem for the military until it became that the airmen can't get on base for a national emergency or something of that thing, right? So what about all the complaints and the arguing and the concerns of traffic for the last 20 years or 15 years and all those things for the citizens and the people that are not military that have to drive up and down that road? That go on deaf ears. Now all of a sudden it's national security. We got to fix the problem. So I got off subject with the housing issue, but BAH military, I think, is honestly what's driving the housing problem, and supply and demand. Obviously, there's a need for it, and I don't think there's enough of it. So hence the people that were renting the houses for $500, $600, $800 a month. Some realty lady or person comes in and says, "Hey, why are you renting it so cheap? I can get you $1,800 or $1,900 a month and you don't have to touch it." Well, I think if you fix the military problem and put them back on base, I think you'll open up, and then I'm hoping we'd have a surplus of houses and apartments and places to rent, and maybe the price would come down to where the average citizen could afford to live in this county.
How would you go about making that happen, making that a reality?
Well, as a county commissioner, it's not like I can just snap my fingers and say, "Hey, Uncle Sam, this is what you need to do." But I think we definitely need to, back up and talk with the military and talk with Eglin, talk with Holbert, talk with Duke, talk with the 7th, and let's get with these commanders and make sure that we're on the same page, that Okaloosa County and the people in the county come first. The military is obviously a great job creator. It does all those things for us. It helps our economy thrive. But at the same time, the military is a guest in this county. And that relationship needs to be relooked at, to the sense that the people that are supporting the backbone of this county, that supports all the military people, the stores, the shopping, all the things that happen, the fun, the activities, the hotel workers, all of that, the people that work here and support this base and the military activity can't afford to enjoy or live in this county. So we need to open up a real open dialogue and have a serious conversation with the military and look at it. You know, we need to bridge that. We need to have a relationship. We need to have a serious talk with the military about what we're going to do about our housing problems.
I've asked you about 20 questions at this point.
Yeah.
What do you want people to know either about Wade or about your campaign, or what question did I not ask that I should have?
Well, no, I think you hit on a lot of key topics, but I want people to know that myself, Wade Merritt, is in my lifetime of being here in Okaloosa County I have not ever looked for any praise or appreciation for anything I've ever done. That what I do on a daily basis, whether it be to help a customer, to help a person, or whatever that case is, you know, I've given my life to being kind and jestful to other people, just in passing or whatever the case is. So I want people to understand that for me to be a county commissioner, I want to be a county commissioner for all the people of Okaloosa County. And I understand that that's I've talked with Nathan, I've talked with other people, commissioners and things like that. And I understand that what I'm fixing to get into, you know, if I was elected, is not going to just be an easy job. There's going to be a lot of people that's going to like me, hate me, dislike me. I'm not going to say the right thing, do the right thing, walk the right way, or something. I understand that. But I think that I'm mentally and physically strong enough to withstand the storm and to represent the people of this county and all the county in a way that they could be proud of. Honestly, I really do. I don't have a self-interest here. I don't have an agenda other than to help the people of Okaloosa County, whether it's the north end, the south end, the east, or the west. I want to be able to make sure that you are heard.